Welcome to the 2023 edition of Your Coach. Ahead of the 2023 Toyota AFL season, our AFL.com.au reporters have gone one-on-one with a number of AFL coaches. Today we go inside the Hawks camp as Twomey sits down with Sam Mitchell.
What's really important with our group is to embed confidence in the way we want to play, and we didn't master it last year, but at this stage it's really embedding the basics.
The Hawks are heading into their second season under Mitchell, and this pre-season has seen a smoother transition in messaging between Sam, assistant coaches and the playing group.
I think what has been a little bit easier this year, if you like, is the ability to be able to delegate and much more of what we're after, and everyone understands it. It's not what does Sam want this, or Sam, do you want that? I think everyone sort of has a bit better feeling about what we're about, and the transparency amongst the coaches and the admin staff about the direction we're going has been really clear.
After a trade period that saw wholesale changes to the playing group at Hawthorn, the progression in 2023 won't come in the form of wins and losses for Mitchell, rather in the development of the next generation of brown and gold stars.
I think we saw some emergence of some individual players last year, and the obvious ones being Mitch Lewis or Jai Newcombe or Dylan Moore and players like that. And I think if we see the continued growth of that group along with some others, that's what success will look like, but certainly no limit or aim as far as wins and losses, particularly not when I'm on camera.
As part of this chat, you'll hear an update on the knee injury to Mitch Lewis, the leadership qualities shown by James Sicily, plus the number of players fighting it out for a spot in the Hawks starting midfield. That's all coming up in this edition of Your Coach.
Sam, thanks for joining AFL.com.au. You're on the verge of the start of the season. How prepared do you feel? How happy are you with the summer that's been?
Yeah, thanks, Cal. I think every coach sits here at this time of year and fitter than we've ever been, and undefeated and full of optimism. And a great challenge for every coach and every team is when the challenges come and the performance pressure starts to increase, how we handle that as a group and as individuals. And I think we're well placed. We've had a good summer, and time will tell.
What are the things you've been really searching for in terms of the game style and how you want to play this year?
I've been reasonably consistent, to be honest. Haven't tried to put too many extra strings on the bow at this stage. I think what's really important with our group is to embed confidence in the way we want to play, and we didn't master it last year, and the direction that we want to go is pretty clear for our players, and we just need to keep plugging away, keep working at it, keep getting better, and as we refine and improve, then eventually you get to being able to put some icing on the cake. But for now, very much sticking to the basics of how we want to play and making sure we're well aligned, making sure we are predictable to each other, and once we've embedded that for a little bit longer, we'll start to make further changes. But at this stage, it's really embedding the basics.
You say you didn't master it. How far is it embedded? Can you see the day-to-day influence of it coming through in everything?
You probably notice it when new players come into the group and they do things that's a bit, no one else does that.
Yeah.
And this is why, so we want to go away from doing that. Or sometimes, they bring in something that's good as well. So I think when you bring new players into your group, you recognise how far along you are, and I think every club has a unique way that they like to play, and some of them change more than others, and I think what we would like to do is be nice and consistent with the way we play, and have, if you think about the best sides in the competition, everyone knows what they do, and it's just about being able to combat it and making sure it stands up when it really matters, and that's what we're building towards.
8 wins last year. What does progression look like for Hawthorn this year?
Yeah, I think some pleasing parts out of last year was the growth of some of our individual players, and as a collective we built some positivity about the direction we were going, and I think there's a lot of, the Hawthorn fans and members out there probably recognise that this is the direction that we're heading, and we know the personnel will be different, but the style of play and how we'd like to go about it, but we will be similar. And look, I think we saw some emergence of some individual players last year, and the obvious ones being Mitch Lewis or Jai Newcombe or Dylan Moore and players like that. And I think if we see the continued growth of that group along with some others, that's what success will look like. But certainly no limit or aim as far as wins and losses, particularly not when I'm on camera.
What about off?
No, we don't. I mean, to be honest, we don't talk like that. We want to win this many games or that many games. I think you try and win every game that you play, and you set yourself up for as much success as you possibly can have, while keeping one eye on the future.
What did you take stock of personally at the end of your first year in the hot seat?
Yeah, it was a great learning curve in my first year as a coach. Head coach for an AFL club is a big job. Everyone always says that, and I think what has been a little bit easier this year, if you like, is the ability to be able to delegate and much more of what we're after, and everyone understands it. It's not, what does Sam want this, or Sam, do you want that? I think everyone sort of has a bit better feeling about what we're about, and the transparency amongst the coaches and the admin staff about the direction we're going has been really clear, and what that means is that we can delegate much better. If I don't turn up to training, or if I'm not there for the planning session, then it will all be rolling out pretty much exactly the same way, and I think that's meant that I can actually do more coaching this year, which I've enjoyed.
I was going to ask you that. Have you felt a difference in your second pre-season because of that ability to, stand back to some degree, but also do some more one-on-one things, or the stuff that you really enjoy about coaching?
Yeah, I don't think it's about what you enjoy. I really enjoy the job and just about every part of it, to be honest. But I think I have been able to do a bit more actual coaching, actual hands-on coaching, whether that be individual craft, how players hold the ball when they're kicking, or when we set up a type of play, type of game, a certain structure. I've been able to coach that a little bit more rather than coaching the coaches, if you like. So being able to get hands-on with the players has been a little bit easier this pre-season, and hopefully they've appreciated it. Maybe they don't like the coach teaching them how to hold the footy when they're kicking, but I think the coaching group's been really, really good, and really given them a lot of autonomy to do their best work without me looking over their shoulders.
How many are dual-sided players yet? Have you?
Well, hopefully all of them. My philosophy with that is you have to be able to get yourself out of trouble on your non-preferred side. So, we've got some players that are pretty good on the banana, so that's fine. So long as they don't, if they hold up our play because they have a restriction on their skill, that's what I would try to avoid.
Fair enough. Lots been said about the trade period last year. Can you take us back to when you, as a club, and you're obviously heavily involved in those decisions as well, come to the point where, okay, we're going to make these aggressive decisions to move out some experienced players and go about it this way? When did you come to that decision within your own group, and how does that sort of relate to the rest of the playing group as well?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to relay to the rest of the playing group because they're all on leave and you don't see them for a significant amount of time afterwards. But I think, we had a really clear list management strategy. We knew what we were trying to achieve. We know what we believe success is going to require. While not everything went to plan, we'd love to keep, Jack Gunston, for instance. But, I think that Tom Mitchell, he'd already been speaking to Collingwood, and Collingwood were hoping to get him. So out of that deal, we managed to bring in a 21-year-old inside mid as an early pick a couple of years ago, Cooper Stevens, and we'd had our eyes on Lloyd Meek for a long time, and really he was a priority to get to the club. And so we sort of hit a bit of a roadblock. We couldn't get anywhere. So when the Jaeger thing came up late, it probably wasn't part of our planning, really, to lose Jaeger, but to get Lloyd in and to also get a little bit of extra draft capital, which turned into Josh Weddle, really. So we sort of think about it as bringing in another first-round draft pick in Josh Weddle, as well as a really good ruckman in Lloyd Meek. It kind of makes sense. Did we go in with the plan of losing all those players? Not necessarily, but it's consistent with the strategy that we have, and I'm really pleased with the group that we've got now, and it really feels like this is the group that's going to go forward together. There's
probably a view externally that there's going to be some short-term pain because of the strategy. Is that confronting for yourself or the group? That might come in the next year or two.
I don't think anyone gets the ladder right, do they? So we all sit here and put our. No one said it this year actually, but every year for the last 10 years, Geelong has been right about to fall off the cliff, and every year they turn up in the top four. So I think every year the experts will have their opinions, and that's what they're paid to do, and that's what the fans want to hear, and we don't worry too much Good or bad, to be honest. I think if we're using external opinions too much on what we're trying to achieve, we're probably not in the right seat. So I think what we need to do is play the best footy we can, build the right group, and build what we believe will be a successful era for the club.
Midfield numbers weren't particularly good, even with Mitchell and O'Meara last year in terms of clearance and that type of thing. Is this a chance now to reset and get that group together that you want to be your midfield for the next 5 years and beyond?
Yeah, I think the midfield is a really interesting part of the ground. And, obviously I played the majority of my career there, and our numbers are really poor. So we're sort of 18th at centre bounces and centre bounce metres and a lot of scoring from stoppages. So we had a lot of trouble around the middle of the ground last year, and I don't think that's and it's probably been for a couple of years we've been like that. And so now, with a bit of a rejuvenation in there, doesn't mean we're going to be better straight away. But David Hale's moved into that role in the middle of the ground, and he's really bonded the boys really well together. And even at training today, he's had 16 players in 4 groups of 4 doing centre bounce work, full competitive, and it was really difficult to see who was the best group. It's a very even group, and what we hope is that there's some real blossoming of talent amongst that group, and we can build something that's pretty special amongst that midfield. And although the names might not be what some of the other clubs have at this stage, we believe that the underlying talent is there. It's just about being able to bond them together in a way that puts the rest of the competition, gives them a bit of respect.
How many years do you think or foresee the list strategy going in that space as well, in terms of the draft first? You've already done it for a couple of years. How many more do you feel like you need to go that way before you're happy with your nucleus of 18 to 22-year-olds?
We're getting to that point now where the way I look at this group, comparing us to this time last year, and this time last year we had some players on the list who we thought are going to be really important for us in the short term, but potentially weren't going to be long-term options for us. Whereas now, I think every player on our list can have success at this club. And, Luke Breust is our oldest player, but, he's pretty much had the same output for the last 3 years. So there's no reason that he can't continue on in that vein. And I look at our group now and think this is the nucleus of players who are going to take us to premiership success in an era that, Hawthorn fans have craved and haven't had since, 13, 14, 15.
Is it daunting in any respect that the era potentially of long rebuilds has changed? The rebuilding in list management, and I know you're interested like I am in this space, is changed in terms of the top clubs doing it differently, and it's sometimes taking longer to get up. Is that harder, or do you agree with that view?
If there's a whole group of clubs doing the same thing, it's probably less likely to work. So if you think about the clubs that rebuilt well, they were the only club doing it at the time. If you have the same strategy as every other club, then you're fighting for the same free agents or the same draft capital or the same whatever talent pool that you can bring. I think us being in a younger spot now, we're able to do some things with things like the salary cap or how contracts are set up, and potentially look to free agency over the next couple of years that other clubs can't do because they haven't done it the way we have. And what that does is it gives us a point of difference. And I think when you're building a list and you're building a strategy, if you're trying to do what everyone else is doing, the resources are finite. So I'm really confident in the direction we're going, and I think the list management team have put together a good strategy, and now we get to see if the playing group and coaching group can execute it.
You're listening to Hawthorn coach Sam Mitchell with Cal Twomey. Now, you've heard the Hawks' holistic approach to 2023, but after the break, we zero in on some of the individual players who are in the mix for the opening round.
G'day, I'm Roy.
I'm Warnie.
And I'm Calvin, and we're the Traders.
AFL Fantasy is open for 2023 and you can start picking your team now.
Register today at fantasy.afl.com.au and use your footy knowledge to win huge prizes and, most importantly, get bragging rights against your mates.
In Fantasy Classic, you have $15.5 million to pick your squad of 30 players, ranging from Rory Laird at over $1 million down to the cheaper draftees.
Make sure you're clicking back to afl.com.au and the AFL Live app for plenty of expert tips this pre-season.